This video is part of 13 Days of Taylor Swift. Enjoy, Swifties! If you thought Taylor was done collecting awards and career accolades this year, you need to calm down because Taylor was also named Billboard's Woman of the Decade. Which shouldn't be a surprise since, as noted by Billboard, Taylor has sold over 37 million albums, been on the Billboard Top 100 a total of 95 times with 5 number ones, and on top of that, has acquired multiple awards including 12 Country Music Association Awards, 10 Grammys, and recently became the most awarded artist at the AMAs. I had to stop listing Taylor's accomplishments in the intro because there are so many, and today we got to read her article for Billboard's Woman of the Decade, and there were so many interesting tidbits. Here are 13 things that we learned. 1. Taylor only recently met Billie Eilish, who is Billboard's Woman of the Year, at the We Can Survive concert in Hollywood this past October. 2. We all know Taylor's favorite social media platform is Tumblr, but it looks like she isn't all that crazy about Twitter. Taylor mentioned, "Sometimes when I open Twitter, I get so overwhelmed that I just immediately close it." Also adding, "I haven't had Twitter on my phone in a while because I don't like to have too much news." 3. In another recent interview, Taylor did mention that artists do reach out to her when they get their first wave of bad press. And everyone knows that Taylor is no stranger to media backlash. And in this interview, she gave us further details on this, saying, "I get so many phone calls from new artists out of the blue. And turns out that even with Taylor's busy schedule, she finds time to help them out," saying, "The answer is always yes. I'm talking about more than 20 people who have randomly reached out to me. I take it as a compliment because it means that they see what has happened over the course of my career over and over again." 4. One of the most interesting things about this article is how Taylor lets us in on the secret life of pop stars. Taylor was asked about who she was able to reach out to as a young artist. She noted that there is a major difference between the country and pop world of music. When she was a country artist, she had Faith Hill and described it as a real community. When it came to the pop world, she referred to it as a completely different world, and went on to say, "When I first started out in pop, it was very much you versus you versus you. We didn't have a network. However, it seems things are changing now because according to Taylor, the girls in pop all now have each other's numbers and text each other," adding, "It's a good thing to have because we can help each other through these moments when you just feel completely isolated." 5. A lot of artists find themselves having one major hit and then nothing else. Taylor, who is the complete opposite, has noted, "We're running really fast toward a singles industry, but you got to believe in something. I still believe that albums are important." 6. Because Taylor is always championing on behalf of other artists, many have wondered if she would one day start her own label and sign other artists. And apparently Taylor has thought about it, but notes, "I would need to do it with all my energy. I know how important that is when you've got someone else's career in your hands, and I know how it feels when someone isn't generous." 7. And speaking of record labels not being generous, Taylor clarifies in this interview that she would have paid whatever it took for her masters. In her own words, she says, "God, I would have paid so much for them, anything to own my own work that was an actual sale option, but it wasn't given to me." 8. Taylor also lets us in on some of the offers she gets. "And the reason I'm re-recording my music next year is because I do want my music to live on. I do want it to be in movies. I do want it to be in commercials, but I only want that if I own it." 9. Taylor was also asked what advice she would give her 20-year-old self. Turns out Taylor wouldn't go back and change anything at all, saying, "I would have done everything exactly the same way because even the really tough things I've gone through taught me things that I never would have learned any other way." 10. And for the fans who are wondering about her creative standpoint at the current moment, Taylor lets us in by saying, "I've been writing alone a lot more. I'm good with being alone, with thinking alone." 11. One of the topics of interest within the Swiftie community has been the selection of which songs become released as singles. Taylor has now provided some insight on how she makes that decision. "I feel so much pressure with a first single that I don't want the first single to be something that makes you feel like you figured out what I've made on the rest of the project." 12. Taylor also talks about how she put together an amazing team that helps facilitate her ideas. noting, "I think a team is the best way to be managed, just from my experience. I don't think that this overarching one person handles my career thing was ever going to work for me, because that person ends up kind of being me, who comes up with most of the ideas." 13. And another cool part of how Taylor plans for each of her eras, she says, "The behind the scenes work is different for every phase of my career that I'm in. Putting together the festival shows that we're doing for Lover is completely different than putting together the Reputation Stadium tour. Putting together the Reputation launch was so different than putting together the 1989 launch. So we really do attack things case by case, where the creative first informs everything else." I found this article super interesting. My favorite part, though, was when she talked about the differences between the pop music world and the country music world. I personally found that very interesting. So Swifties, what did you find the most interesting out of this article? And what did you think of the cover? What did you think of the photos? Let me know in the comments section below. Also, do not forget to come back tomorrow for the last and final episode of 13 Days of Taylor Swift. As always, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel for more. And as always, do not forget to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram @_Denise Salcedo. I'll see you guys later. Bye!